Hi everyone, it's Heidi here from flutterbyheidi.co.uk, and I'm Heidi Smith, an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based here in the United Kingdom. And today we've got a pretty self-closing box, as in you don't need to fold it, and when you pull on the cord it opens at the top. So there's I think there are a variety of versions, but I just thought this was lovely to use with the beautiful designer series paper, Best Dressed. Now this is retiring at the end of March, so I would strongly recommend that you get some now. So all you do is to close it. We've got a little circle here, pop it inside the box, put the four corners in, and there you go. And I just thought it was a really fun way, and I've used a couple of the punches and again some more of the fussy cut paper as well, and the beautiful striped organza ribbon. So good sized box. It is, oh gosh, it's about 2.5 inches square, and it is 5 3/4 inches high. So really good sized box for gifting. So let's get on with the project. I've used the Free as a Bird for the hello, there's a thank you on there, so you know, various ones, and I've used a couple of the flower images as well. I'm using some of the lovely lipstick ink, which again is retiring. So the paper I'm going to use is this one here from the Best Dressed, and we're going to layer that onto some petal pink, yes it is petal pink, let me just check, yes it is petal pink cardstock for the box, with the lovely lipstick as that layer. So as you can see there, really gorgeous colours all coming together. Obviously if you wanted to, you could layer it the other way as well. I just rather like quite a strong sort of layer for my box. So here we go. This is the ribbon I'm using, so this is our petal pink ribbon, and then I'm using a couple of the new punches, so the Label Me Fancy and the Label Me Lovely. Label Me Fancy for the label, Label Me Fancy for the middle, and also to create those slots to feed the ribbon through as well. So let's grab my trimmer. Hope I can find my instructions. Always a good start. And you are going to need a piece of cardstock that is 8 1/4 by 10 1/2. So the reason it's 8 1/4 is because that's the width of our UK cardstock. But if you're in the US, you could use 8 1/2. And I'm just cutting that down on the length to 10 1/2 inches. Just keep that bit for our label layers later. So on the long edge we are going to score at every 2 1/2 inches. So that is just 2 1/2 at 5, at 7 1/2, almost cut, and at 10 inches. And then on the short edge, you're going to score at 1 3/8 and 7 inches. So I'm just going to do 1 3/8 on this edge and 7 inches. And this is just to maximise the height of our box. So if you're using US cardstock, you'd want to make that 7 1/4 if you're using the full 8 1/2 inches. So next thing I'm going to do while I've got my trimmer out is cut some layers. So the panels are 2 3/8 by 5 1/2 inches. So just to keep that even, just trim that. And I'm just doing a single front panel. Now, if you wanted to, you could decorate all 4 sides, up to you entirely, but you know, the principle is exactly the same. So there's our card panel. Then we're just going 1/8 of an inch smaller. So from our 2 3/8, we're going to go to 2 1/4 inches for our DSP, and just take that down to 5 3/8. So hopefully You'll just see there, we've just got a little narrow border. And in fact, I've done it the other way. Oh, having said I was going to do it the other way around, let's see how it looks this way around. Okay, so that's our panel for a little later. We need to do some free scoring, so you need to take your pick tool and a ruler, and all you're going to do is mark the slightly larger section. So you've got one that's 1 3/8 and one that is 1 1/4. So it's this top section that's 1 3/8 at the top, and you're just going to make a mark. I've got just a white pencil here at 1 1/4, at 3 3/4, at 6 1/4, and then at 8 3/4. Like so. And then you're going to, you possibly might not see it, but you come to the point where those lines intersect, the top line and the upright, and just score those diagonals. So I tend to do 4 in one direction, then just turn it and score in the opposite direction. So what you'll have, and I'll show you on a piece of paper in a moment, so you'll have this. So you'll have your score line, and you're marking the middle point and just scoring triangles at the top. Okay. Oh, that's a bolt falling out of my chair, I think. Once you've done that, best thing to do now is to fold and reinforce those score lines. That will just help us when we're constructing our box. And these top ones, just reinforce those. Now, the easiest way I find to do these is to kind of fold them in pairs. Just to kind of get that's going to help us with our closure. So just fold the 2 diagonals as a mountain and a valley in the middle, because this is the one that's going to have to go in. So we want to kind of really get the diagonal ones as mountains and the one in the middle as a little valley. So as I say, I'm just pairing those up, and then our final one. And this last little bit at the top will be a valley. So there we have our folded section at the top. We're going to snip up the bottom and just trim away this corner here. So just trim that away, and I'm just going to take the angle off the top there. And then with these 4, you're just going to cut straight up on these. So we're not notching these out. So then what you need to do is we work out which is our front panel. So for me, I've got my narrow bit on the right, so my front panel is going to be this one here. So I'm just going to pop my panel in place. Probably should have put my DSP on first, but hey, never mind. And I'm still using up my tape runners. There are some new tape runners coming out from Stampin Up, which I'm sure will be fantastic. Snail has been around a very long time, and there's some new ones coming out, so do keep an eye open for those. I'll be obviously using those as soon as they're available. So there's our front panel. So I'm going to pop some red tape on the reverse of this, or some fuse. And again, to get a really nice finish, we're just folding those up and this just helps make sure our box is nice and square. So just burnish that down. So there you go, that's starting to take shape. And then for the tape, you want the flap at the front to have the tape on. So these two side ones will fold in, and then you want tape on these other two. So I'm just going to pop those in. So in my instance, I'm just going to add some fuse to that. And if you're using something like a tape, this, once you've closed it together on the bottom, stand it up and grab your ruler and just give it a good press down in the middle. Okay. So here we go. Let's crack on with some stamping. And all I've done here is I'm taking a piece of my, I'm actually going to vary it a little bit. So I'm going to use some of the lovely lipstick with my punch, and because we're just going to add a little bit to the edge, I'm just going to come in and just take that top edge out. You see there, I'm just coming in just very slightly, just those two sections. I'm then actually going to create something slightly different. I'm actually going to use my metal pink for my layer, and then I'm going to use my Label Me Fancy Punch to punch out a single one of those. And then I'm just going to come in, and I find the easiest way is to kind of line up just the middle-ish and then just pull it out to create that little bar. So line up on the middle, pull it out a bit. So hopefully, no, I've not managed to get that straight. Oh, never mind. Okay. So what I'm then going to do is I'm going to take my lovely lipstick ink and stamp my sentiment just on this little panel here that we've created. That's incredibly, let's just turn it over to see if we can actually manage to get it straight this time. Ah, that's better. And then I'm just coming in with my flowers in the lovely lipstick. And the reason for that, I'll show you in a moment, is because that makes it really easy to colour using one of our blender pens. So blender pens are colourless, so you can use them for any colour at all. And all I've done is I've dabbed my ink pad onto a block, and I'm just picking up a little bit of colour to the centre of those, like so, just colouring those in. And then without adding any more, I'm just using a small circular motion to colour those flowers in, and it will in fact pick up some of the colour from the stamping that you've done, so you hardly need to add any colour at all. It's just quite nice to have that little slightly darker bit in the centre. So we can pop that to one side. I'm going to add our layers to the back, so just pop a little glue, preferably one that hasn't run out. There we go. A little glue on the reverse. Would you believe it? Okay, third time's the charm. Let's try this one. Right, so we're just on the very edge of those on the far end, and then all you need to do is use those side bits on the corners to line it up, and that just gives a really pretty edge to it, which is why we didn't need to come down very far. So you haven't got to worry about then trimming anything away, and it's got space for our ribbon to go through. I'm going to add a couple of dimensionals onto the back here. I just happen to have mini dimensionals handy. So I'm just going to pop 3 of those on the back there. See, the great thing, make a mistake, just turn it over. No one is ever going to be any the wiser. Oh. And I'm just adding that label to the middle there. I say it just as a great way to add some layers. And then during this lockdown period, we've done a bit of fussy cutting. So you can see I've taken a sheet of the paper and cut out some of these really pretty makeup kind of images. So I'm just selecting a few of those with some of the colours on to add in onto our label as well. How are we doing on time? Okay, not too bad. And then all I'm going to do is just pop those on with just a little dab of glue. So actually what I'm going to do unusually is I'm going to put the glue onto the back here, just a small amount, because what I don't want to do is have any excess glue. So I'm popping those on the edge there. And that stops you getting any glue on your channel where you're going to put your ribbon. Like so. Do you want to put an extra one on? Yeah, just put one on the bottom there. So that punch cuts a really useful slot. So any of your tab or tag punches can easily have a ribbon slider. Well, they could if you weren't rubbish like me and not managed to get them level. So we pop our ribbon through. And again on the other side, just cut it at an angle, just helps feed it through. Then you can choose whether you're going to feed those underneath. I'm going to just pop those underneath my images. And actually what I might do is tie that on the front of my box. So, last little bits to do. I've just got a circle punch, anything of kind of 1 inch and a bit in diameter. Just punch a piece of cardstock. And then use your a hole punch to punch a hole in that. I've just got one of the old Stampin' Up ones, but you sort of mark, broadly speaking, it doesn't have to be perfect because it's not the exact size, where the centre is. So punch a hole, keep our ribbon to the side here. Let's cut a decent length. You're then going to want, for this circle piece, so double it up like so. And all we've got to do now is pop that through and tie a knot. And then you have, I'm run out of time. Right, double knot on the inside of that. Okay, like so. That then pulls down. You pop your 4 corners in and just press down gently. You'll see they can form a pyramid and pull up. And all that's left to do is to tie your ribbon around here. And kind of ease it into a bow on the side. Titivate a little. There we go. And you can centre that with your bow on the side. And there we have a pretty self-closing box ready to gift all sorts of little lovelies in there. And I hope you enjoy making one. So, dress to impress, beautiful paper. Please get it before it disappears. I'm stocking up on it because I love it. I think it's absolutely brilliant.